Alright guys, Ryan Lebron here. Today is Sunday, April 16th, I believe it is, 2023. And today I'm going to be spending a little bit of time bleeding the clutch on my bike. So I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time narrating and talking. But for those of you that have a motorcycle very similar to mine, I'm going to show you the kind of tools that you're going to need to do this kind of repair work. I'd done a little bit of it yesterday for the first time in my life ever doing anything like this to a motorcycle. So I wasn't sure what I was doing or what I was looking at. I watched somebody else's video to get the basic idea of what I would have to do in order to do the job myself, to try to save $140 an hour at a motorcycle shop. And it didn't take me long to do the job. As a matter of fact, I got in there, I'd done a little bit of it, and I know that I'm on the right track to what I'm doing because what little bit I did do gave the clutch just enough to where I was able to run the bike yesterday. I drove the bike up the road and back yesterday. I didn't have any problems stopping the bike with the clutch. I didn't have any problem getting going in first gear. I didn't have any problem holding the bike still while the clutch was down. However, the job is not complete because there's still air inside the lines. So today we're going to finish the job, and I'm going to make a video of it in the process to show you what I learned yesterday and how easy it is to do this. So let's go ahead and get the camera turned around, and I'm going to show you some of the tools that you're going to need to do this job. And then we're going to get started filming the actual process and point out a few spots specifically. The video I watched to do this, the guy was not specific on the actual part itself, and that's the part that I struggle with. I'm going to make that very specific in this video. So let's get things turned around, and I'll show you the tools you're going to need to do this job. For those of you that don't really know what's going on, this is a 1999 model Kawasaki Vulcan 1500 Nomad. And when I'm looking for videos to work on things like my motorcycle or my pickup truck or whatever, I'm looking for specific videos. Nobody needs to know the number on my license plate. So when I'm looking for videos to work on my bike or my pickup truck, I'm looking for specific videos for that particular year model, that engine size, that, this particular, this and that and the other. So this is a 99 Kawasaki Vulcan 1500 Nomad. And today I'm going to show you how to bleed out the hydraulic clutch line, how to bleed the air out of the hydraulic clutch. So what we're going to do, let me go ahead and turn around. We're going to need this Torx head screwdriver, or what I call a star bit. It's actually a Torx head. We're going to need the Torx head. We're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to need a 12 millimeter wrench. As you can see, 12. We're going to need a 12 millimeter wrench. We're also going to need a smaller open-end wrench. I can't remember the exact size of it, but it is going to be smaller than this, and that is to crack the bleeder nipple of the slave cylinder. We're also going to need a 10 millimeter socket, and I'm going to show you what that's for. And we're going to need a 14 millimeter socket, and I'm going to show you what that's for. Let's go ahead and turn things around. Now, here's what the tools are actually for. You're going to have to take this particular housing completely off, and that's going to require the Torx head or the star bit, whatever you want to call it. You're also going to have to take these shifter pedals completely off. That is where your 10 millimeter socket comes in, because you can see a little bolt right here to take one shifter pedal off. Then this pedal right here comes off with a bolt at the bottom, which is also the 10 millimeter socket. But to get to those easily, you also have to move this pedal completely out of the way. Now to do that is really simple. That is where your 14 millimeter socket comes in handy. Because this bolt right down here that my finger is pointing to, under the bottom of it right here, has to come completely out. That being said, let me reposition myself and get completely under here. Give me just a moment. This bolt right here, you see how the bottom of the shifter pedals are on that post that I just showed you? That's the shifter pedals. So you're looking for this bolt right here, directly under it. That bolt has to come completely out. And then this bolt right next to it has to be loosened up a lot. What's going to happen is when you take this one completely out and you loosen up this one, this whole pedal right here drops. It doesn't drop all the way out, but it drops enough to where you can get to everything. What happens is this bracket right here, this main bracket right here, is pivoted on that post where that one bolt comes out. And then everything hangs on this post right here where the bolt is just loose. Don't worry, I'm going to show y'all all that. Once you get this pedal completely out of the way, then you can use your 10mm socket to take these bolts on the shifter pedals completely off. Then you can come back with your T30 Torx head screwdriver. One bolt here, one bolt here, one bolt here, and one bolt there. Now the reason you have to take the pedals off is because on this housing right here, there's a little thing on this housing that loops around that shifter knob post. And a little bit later when we take the housing off, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the smaller combination wrench that I said we're going to need is for adjusting the slave cylinder inside here. So let me go ahead and set everything up just for a moment, and I'm going to get to work taking some of this stuff off, and I'm going to film some of this. So that's what has to be done. I'm going to do the best I can to film it. That way you can watch what I'm doing. I'm going to start by taking the pedal completely out of the way. Then I'm going to move to the shifter pedals, and then we're going to move to this. So let me put the camera on pause, set it up in the tripod, and get things going again. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is concentrate on taking the pedal completely out of the way. You remember that 14mm socket I told you about? This is where this comes in handy. First thing we're going to do is work on taking that center bolt, the one I told you that is basically the pivot point. We're going to work on taking that bolt completely out. You remember the bolt that I showed you is directly behind the bottom of the shifter pedals? That's the bolt that I'm taking out right now. That's where your 14mm socket comes in handy. And if you hear machine gun sounding type noise, my grandchildren are outside playing with their little toy machine guns. Give me just a moment. Ah, you dirty rat, you. Get back on there. Now, some of you may have a better way of doing this. See, that's the very bottom bolt that I showed you a little while ago. Now, as soon as I take this one loose, not off, but loose, the pedal's going to drop. We don't need to take this one off, we just got to loosen it. See how the pedal dropped? That's exactly what you want. You're not taking this one off. Now, you don't have to worry about not being able to line the pedal up right, because the bolt goes through this bracket into the post. Now, do you remember I said you're going to need a 10mm socket for the shifter pedals? Here's your 10mm socket right here. let's go ahead and get that going. The back shifter pedal and the front shifter pedal both have to come off. And I'll show you why once I get to that part. A little tricky to operate all this with inside this little tight spot, but really the only thing you got. There we go, there we go. And don't worry about it, the bolt pretty much has to come out. There's almost no way around it. Now here in a little bit, I'll show you what's going on inside the little rings of these shifter pedals. Okay, there's a 10mm bolt that comes out the shifter pedal. And this is the back shifter pedal right here. Here in just a few moments, I'm gonna zoom in and let you look at this. Now we gotta take the front shifter pedal off. And believe it or not, guys, this is not hard to do. If I can do it, I know good and well any of you can do it. I am not mechanically inclined by any sense of the word. So if I can do this, I know any of you can. Here we go. Now I don't have any professional power tools. All I've got is regular socket sets, wrench sets, things of that nature. All right, here's the other 10mm bolt for the front shifter. I had to work this one a little bit yesterday, but that's actually a good thing because that means the gears on the inside of it are tight. This front shifter pedal did give me a little bit of a fit yesterday getting it off. But that's all right because when I went to put it back on, it just slid right into place with no problem. You may have to work the front shifter pedal a little bit. He's not playing. It is coming slowly. You will have to work this one a little bit. Yeah, it's coming very, very slowly. The front one will give you a little bit of a fit, but that's what you want because you want the grooves to be good and tight on it. But putting it back on, what I used to put it back on yesterday is a small hammer, and I just kind of tapped it back on, and it worked out just fine. Now yesterday when I was fighting with this, I didn't like the fact that I was fighting it. But yesterday when I put everything back together, whoop, there it goes, it just slipped. Yesterday when I was putting everything back together, I used a hammer and I kind of tapped it and everything went back into place very smoothly. So it's actually a good thing that you have to fight it a little bit. We're almost there, guys. Yeah, it's coming. We're almost there now. See how loose it is now? We're just barely hanging on the end of it now. There it goes. Whew. Wow. I don't like fighting things that much, guys. I really don't. But sometimes you have to. Now we can use that Torx head screwdriver and take these 4 bolts and the housing will just slide off. But right now, I want to take a moment out to show you why I was having such a fit over this. If you look inside there really, really close, you can see grooves in there. Well, they got grooves on the post where the gear shifter pedals slide onto. And that's why I was having such a fit. Can you see it? See them little grooves in there? I don't know if the camera's gonna adjust. There you go. See that? That's why I was having such a fit with it. Now, let's go ahead and use our Torx head screwdriver and take the housing off. Move the camera over a little. Readjust it. And we got 4 bolts to take out from this part. We got one here, one here, one here, one here. And here in just a moment, I'm going to show you why we had to take the shifter knobs off. I mean the shifter pedals. Now some guys do this with power tools. I don't have power tools. But if you got the basic hand tools I just told you about, and there you go, there's one of them right there. And you don't have to worry about getting the bolts all mixed up because they're different sizes, different designs. Give you an idea. This bolt right here came out of the shifter pedal. This bolt came out of the housing. I'm sure you can see a difference. Now I'm using a T30 Torx head screwdriver, and it's just a hair bit small for the head, but it is working just fine. Now we got the top 2, and then I'm going to show you why we had to take the shifter pedals off. If you have power tools, this is so much faster. I don't have any. Okay, now, saw how easy that was? See this little catch down here at the bottom right here? This right here wraps around the shifter pedal post. That's why you have to take the shifter pedals off. Now that that's done, this is the inside of the housing. Okay? Now that that's done, we're going to zoom in on the slave cylinder that we have to work on bleeding. Give me just a moment. All right, guys. This part right here that I've got my finger on is the slave cylinder that you have to bleed for the clutch. This black thing right here, this little cap looking thing, you take it off. Boom. See that little nipple right here? That is what that small combination wrench, small open-end wrench is going to be for. So as you're cranking on that clutch, you hit that clutch a few times, hold it, and you use that combination wrench to open that valve and then close it back again. This part right here is the slave cylinder that you're going to be working on bleeding out. So that being said, I'm going to crank on this clutch a little bit right up in here. Then I'm going to get my small combination wrench and we're going to work on bleeding this thing out. Whoop! I just about fell over backwards. Y'all give me a moment. Now you guys give me just a moment. I got to figure out exactly what size wrench fits on that. All right, that is a 10mm wrench. That bleeder nipple right there takes a 10mm wrench. So right now I'm going to have one hand on the clutch working it, and then one hand on this bleeder nipple. And we're going to crank on it until we get fluid. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Open, close. I'm just pumping on the clutch 4 or 5 times, and then I crank on this and hold the clutch. Crank on it, tighten it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold. Whoop! I got solid fluid that time. I don't know if y'all saw it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold. Solid fluid. I got solid fluid that time, guys. So that means this valve is bled out. That valve has been bled out. Now, I got solid fluid that time, guys. I don't know if y'all saw it. Now we gotta crank on the master cylinder. So let me pause the video and bring that up some. All right, now the tripod is reset to catch the master cylinder. That was a 10mm wrench I used to crank on that nipple, and I got solid fluid out of it, and I do mean solid fluid. Now, we're gonna crank on the master cylinder. That is where your 12mm socket comes in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoop, solid fluid, but a little bit of air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Solid fluid and just a squirt of air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? Let me do it this way. You use the closed-in wrench. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing but air coming out that time. That means that's got to be bled out really good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoa! Fluid, fluid, fluid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Getting air and fluid. We're going to keep pumping until all of this is fluid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, let's stop what we're doing. We're going to add some more fluid to it. This requires .4 brake fluid, and this is where your Phillips screwdriver comes in. This is where your Phillips head screwdriver comes in. We're going to go ahead and slowly crack the master cylinder, which is right here. Sounds like one of my grandchildren are coming. Yep, right on cue. What is it, buddy? You have to come in. Yeah. Sounds like Grandma's coming too. Don't get too close, buddy.
Oh, okay. I sent him out here because he came in because Aiden came in. Sorry.
Go ahead and talk to me. He came in because of what?
Aiden came in.
Okay.
So I sent him back out there. Diesel, come
Well,
on.
him and Diesel can stay out. That's fine.
Can I leave this open now?
Absolutely. And here's the top of the cap of the master cylinder, guys. And as you can see in the sight glass, we dropped a little, so we're going to add some fluid.
Coffee.
And this is the dot 4 brake fluid, which is what it requires. We're going to just add some fluid, cap it off, and bleed this master cylinder out.
There you are.
I learned yesterday that I don't want to put too much because when I put the cap of the master cylinder on, some of it bleeds because the inside of the master cylinder has got this rubber bushing on it thing, and I don't want to get fluid all over the place. See what I'm talking about? Now, let's go ahead and tighten this cap back on and we're going to finish bleeding this out. Lawrence, you stay outside, buddy. Okay. Stay close to the shop. Okay. And I don't know if any of you people remember this, but back when I was growing up, my mom and dad used to have those cars where you had to bleed the brakes once in a while. One person was in the car pumping the brakes while the other person was under the car bleeding each particular brake. This is the same exact principle, guys. The same principle. Now, let's go ahead and continue on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, it's tight now. It's tight. I'm gonna back the camera up and show you a little bit. Back the camera up. Give me just a moment. Camera's going to do a little flip-flop here, so just bear with me. Now, I don't know if you can see it in the sight glass, but the fluid is not quite full, but well above that little line mark. And now that clutch is tight. Believe it or not, my wife bought this thing for me in the summer of 2020, and the clutch was not even that tight back then. It's tighter now than what it's ever been since I've had it. So now that I know that the clutch has been bled out, we got all kind of brake fluid on the floor. That's okay, it's my mess, I'm gonna clean it up. We're gonna go work on putting all these parts back together. And we're going to start with the housing. We're going to do everything in reverse. So that being said, I'm going to put the camera back together and I'm going to show you how to put everything back. So that job right there, bleeding the clutch out, took me roughly 12 to 15 minutes. I cheated. I done a little bit of it yesterday, so I already knew what I was doing. But this is for those guys that have never done this. And this is my first time actually doing the job itself. So this video has been going on for 21 minutes and 50 seconds now, and the clutch job is now done. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on putting everything back together. Y'all bear with me while I put the camera back in the tripod and readjust everything. And I'm gonna show you how easy it is to put everything back together. Y'all bear with me. Alright guys, I had to put everything on, to put the filming on pause so that way I could adjust the tripod the right way. So I'm going to go ahead and put the housing back on at a little bit of an angle. Let me get the brake fluid completely out of the way. Let me get the wrenches out. Let me get everything out of the way that I know good and well I'm not going to need. What do you need, Lawrence? Okay.
I don't want to.
No, you're fine, buddy. You're fine. You're just fine. You're not doing anything wrong. But if you're going to watch, you need to stand off to the right side or the left side to watch. Okay? Now, guys, we are officially done with the screwdriver and the opening and the combination wrenches. So, y'all bear with me while we put everything back together. Starting with the housing. Remember what I told you about this? Wraps around the post of the shifter pedals. And don't get frustrated because the post of the shifter pedal is in the way. Believe it or not, it's a very, very useful guide to putting this housing back on. Oh, I didn't think it was catching. Didn't feel like it was catching. Now it feels like it grabbed. Don't get too close to here, buddy, please.
Yes.
Papa's putting everything back together on his bike, so don't get too close.
Okay.
Everything goes well, it won't be too much longer. I'll have everything back together.
Okay. Did you have that dog out?
Yeah, I did. I'm going to have to clean it up, too. If I don't clean that fluid off the floor, Grandma's going to get mad at me.
I don't know.
And just so you know, the shop supervisor at the place that I work, I'm not going to give his whole name, but his first name is Mike. He sent me the video that I watched to get the basic idea of how to do this. So Mike, if you get this, if you see this video, I appreciate you sending me that other one. And I will also be putting a video link or a link to the previous video that I watched. So that way you guys can see how I learned to do this. I am a firm believer in giving credit where credit is due. So, thank you, Mike, for sending me that video. I really appreciate it. It helped a lot. And to the gentleman who made the video that I watched, I really appreciate your time and energy putting a video together for me to learn the basics. You will never know how much that video helped me, sir. I really appreciate it. Now this right here, you got to be kind of picky on how the first one goes back on. What I would suggest is picking up the foot pedal that you're going to be putting your foot on and testing it out to see where the shifter pedal falls. You want enough room to where you can slide your foot under it to shift up and down and all that. I don't appreciate this. Never have. I just okay, that is going to be plenty right here. Now I'm going to get a small hammer and start tapping that thing in place. Because that's plenty for what we need. Give me just a moment to get me a small hammer so I can tap that gear, that shifter pedal in place. Oh, thank you, buddy.
You're welcome.
Now, this is where a hammer comes in. Now, your 10mm bolts can go back in place. One by one, slowly. Let's go ahead and tighten that rascal down. My wife bought this bike for me in the spring/summer of 2020. And I can tell you right now that clutch has not been that tight since I have owned it. As a matter of fact, toward the end of my riding season last summer, I got to where I could actually shift the gears without the clutch. And I don't know how you feel about it, but on a small engine, that's kind of freaking me. It kind of freaked me out when I was able to do that. Don't worry, I did that on purpose, guys. Okay, bring that up just a hair. Yeah, that'll work. Let's put that one back in place. If you noticed, I brought this pedal up to where my foot would be on it. Now let's put the other 10mm bolt in place. Not quite yet. Believe it or not, guys, we're just about done with this job. Okay, that's good. Now, it's time to go back with the 12mm sockets. Okay, so stay with me, guys. We're just a little over 30 minutes in, and we're just about done. Now we're going to bring the pedal back up and shove the pedal bolt back into place. Here's our 14mm socket time. Notice how the pedal's coming back up in place? That's exactly what you want. Now, let's tighten up the, what I would call the pivot bolt. Whatever thing hung on. All right, that's done, guys. the video on pause. All right, guys, I'll put the video on pause just for a moment so I could take the camera back out of the tripod. We're going to test that clutch real quick. Yeah, that clutch is tighter now than what it's ever been ever since I've had it. So that is a job well done, guys. So filming, showing you, let me go ahead and shut this off for just a moment and turn the... All right, guys, so the bottom line is, if you have a 1999 model Kawasaki Vulcan 1500 Nomad and you're having clutch issues, I would strongly suggest trying to bleed the clutch out first. Anything beyond that, I'm not sure. But this filming, showing you different tools you're gonna need, showing you exactly how to do it, what to do, how to do it, showing you the parts I was doing. The whole process took about 30 minutes, that's including filming. So if I was just doing it just to get it done without filming, I'd have probably had it done in 15 to 20 minutes. But that being said, we're gonna do a quick rundown one more time of the tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need a T30 Torx head screwdriver, or what I call a star bit, but that's T30. You're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver. You're gonna need a 12 millimeter socket. You're gonna need a 14 millimeter socket. You're gonna need a small hammer, and you're also going to need a 12 millimeter and a 10 millimeter wrench. And when you put all those tools together, you can easily bleed the clutch on your bike within about 30 minutes doing everything that I just did. And I'm gonna say one more time, like I said in the first portion of the video, this is the very first time I've ever done it. I done a little bit of it yesterday to see what I was gonna be looking for and exactly how to do it. So I did cheat a little bit by doing a little yesterday, but it gave me the knowledge to be able to get it all done quickly and do a video for it for you guys out there. So hopefully you got something out of this video. Hopefully you learned a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the thing off. I can tell you right now, the clutch is tighter now than what it's ever been since I've owned it, and my wife bought it for me in the summer of 2020. So we're going into the third summer now, and the clutch has never been this tight for me. But once again, I'm gonna say a shout out to my shop supervisor, Mike, for sending me the video that I watched to learn how to do the basics of this. And I'm also gonna put a video link in to the video that I watched to learn how to do this. So that way you guys watch my version and his version. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. We're gonna take it for a test spin and see how things go. And I will give the conclusion of this video once the test run is done. So it's not an over and out for now. It's just to bear with me until the test run is complete. I don't have a way of filming the drive itself. I don't have a GoPro that I can put on my helmet. So I'm just gonna have to do the test drive and get back with you once the test drive is over. Stay with me for the conclusion, guys.
I'll leave this here.
All right, guys. I did have a chance to take the bike out for a test spin. I drove it up the road about 3-4 miles and then doubled back, came back home. 45 degrees outside, so it's a little bit chilly for a really good test drive. But the bottom line is 3 or 4 miles out, 3 or 4 miles back, I can tell you right now that the clutch is tighter than what it ever has been since we've owned it in the summer of 2020. And the gears are shifting out smoother because of it. So if you're having some clutch problems, you got a 99 Kawasaki Vulcan Nomad, you might want to try bleeding the clutch and going from there and seeing what happens. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you have any questions, let me know. I will be posting a link to the video that I watched so that way I could learn the basics of how to do this. I'll be posting a link to that video in the description below so that way you can see the video that I learned from. And then hopefully you learn from his mistakes as well as like I did. And maybe my video is a little bit clearer, I don't know, but you'll have both my video and his to work off of. So Hopefully you enjoyed this. Over and out, guys. Check you another time. And please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to it, you'll be notified of other videos later on in the future. Share it with other people if you don't mind. I welcome anybody to like and subscribe to my videos. It helps the channel out a lot. Over and out, guys. Later.